Brewer, welcome.
Hello.
Okay, so we have decided to talk about student loans today, our own stories. And so I thought it would be interesting to share this dialogue because sometimes it feels like we're alone in our finance journeys, but there's always other people going through similar things. So I thought it would be interesting and maybe even hilarious to talk about student loans with you. So we'll see. Okay, so do you want to start by saying like how you even got involved or entangled with student loans in the first place?
It was you. It was all you. All your fault. I blame all my troubles on you.
Even undergrad?
I don't have any undergrad student loans.
Okay.
So it's all your fault.
I started with like $6,000 of student loan debt at CSUN, but I was able to save that money in a bank account and not spend it. So it wasn't like debt. And then when I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I knew that it was bad to have student loans. Like I knew that it wasn't going to be the best path. So the goal was to get into a PhD program and get funding. But I didn't get into any PhD programs. I got into master's programs. So that led me to my first interaction or interface with debt. So I went to the University of Chicago, as you already know, and I tried to avoid as much of the debt as possible. So I was paying cash for the degree and also taking out loans. So I walked away from them still with about $30,000 of student loan debt.
And which isn't bad for a master's degree at all.
I think people will argue with that, but it's okay because people who aren't in our position just don't understand what it's like to have to pay for college on your own. Like you don't have anybody else doing it for you. But some people would say that you should get a job and just work your whole time through and pay for it as you go. But you know, we know that now, but in reality, it's just like, that's not the most practical thing to do.
And then also, I mean, we had friends who did do that. They worked all throughout CSUN and still graduated with debt. And then in our case, graduated in 2008, they had debt, they were working, and then they graduated with this degree that really couldn't get them a job because, you know, there were people that were in their position for years and were fired. So they were in the job market competing with vets, you know, trying to get entry-level positions. So it's just, you know, kind of like, you know, everybody has an opinion about things, but if you're not living in it, you really don't have any clue. Just like, you know, I see people talking about immigrants and, you know, people losing their job due to the coronavirus. And I'm like, if you are not living in their house, if you are not paying their bills, you have absolutely no clue exactly what's going on. So, but I mean, that's also a part of, you know, empathy and us being social workers. So, you know, everybody has an opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your opinion is right for my life.
Exactly. So, in saying all that, I decided that I wasn't going to stay at Chicago. I mean, well, I graduated, I got my master's degree there, but I wasn't going to do the PhD program. I wanted to have a job, like you said, like right out of college or right out of grad school and not be stuck being a teacher or anything that I didn't want to do. So that's how I decided to go into social work. I had a roommate who was a social worker. She seemed to be happy and enjoying her life. The work seemed interesting, and that's how I ended up going to USC, and that's where the real student loan debt came on. And so you came about much later, and I told you because there was
well, okay, let me tell my story. I don't need you to.
Okay, I'm not going to tell your story. For me. I'm not going to tell you a story, but I'm going to tell you part of my story.
I'm speaking, Michelle. I'm speaking. Shout out to Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. No, I'm messing with you. But so just a little bit of my backstory. I was very, very blessed. I went to a junior college. So I did 2.5 years, don't judge me, at my community college. It was impacted. So there was a lot of fighting for core classes in GE, just like it is at state schools. So I failed the math class, so I had to retake it. And it just so happens I couldn't get back in. So I had to do like a whole extra It ended up being a whole extra year because the way that, math classes kind of fall in the schedule. But which allowed me time to work for a full year before I transferred to Cal State Northridge, which was amazing because I was able to transfer with money in my bank account for a cushion. But I was also extremely blessed because I didn't do 4 years at a state school. My parents were able to help me and pay for school semester by semester at Cal State Northridge. And this is before the rate hikes. And I want to say it was about $1,400 per semester for a full 12 units.
Yes, undergrad wasn't an issue.
Yeah, so undergrad really wasn't too harsh. And then also my senior year, I was a resident advisor, so I didn't have to pay for housing, thank God. So really undergrad was not a huge feat financially for me. So I was able to graduate with no debt, which was a blessing because again, I graduated in 2008. I was unemployed for 9 months after graduating with a bachelor's degree. So I worked 3 part-time jobs, did the whole shebang, worked in finance. And all of my friends, amazing. I have an amazing tribe of women around me. We got a doctor, a lawyer, a therapist, and an accountant. And I was kind of looking around like, okay, they're all going to grad school and doing their thing. And I'm kind of feeling kind of stagnant. I know I need to progress, but I am not about that GRE life. I do not like standardized tests, and I am deathly afraid of debt. So I harassed Michelle for, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
About her debt process.
And what did I tell you?
Huh?
What did I tell you?
She told me the truth. She told me it's horrible. It's a lot of money, but she also told me about the public student loan forgiveness. And so that's kind of what I hounded her about. Okay, how long? 10 years? What kind of job? Like, what can I do? And so I always wanted to go to USC. I mean, I'm a California native. So like USC and Stanford, they're kind of like our Ivy Leagues. And so I was like, I want to go to USC. They don't require a GRE. I think I can do it. And I owned a home at the time. I was working. Actually, I wasn't working. I got injured at my job. So I was off work. And I was like, okay, if I go to grad school and finish, I can get a job making double what I make now, as opposed to kind of, good times, scratching and surviving with, barely getting by with just my bachelor's degree money. So I made the leap. I made the choice to go into crippling debt, but I had the knowledge and the information to know that this is what I want to do. If I work 10 years in the public sector, it can be forgiven. And, I weighed my options and decided that it was totally worth it.
Right. And I feel the same way. I mean, I thought to ask about like whether you feel any regret about taking out the debt. And then as I was thinking about asking you, I was asking the question to myself, and I'm happy where I ended up. I'm not thrilled about the journey and the debt and having it, but I learned a lot about myself through the process. Mm-hmm. So what do you answer to that question? Like, do you regret taking out all that loan? Student loan?
1 second. This light is like blinding me, and then 1 second. Let me do that. Okay. I 100% don't regret it, but it really frustrates me that we live in a society that, okay, let me just break it down. I'm going to get real social worky, and I don't apologize.
Do it.
It frustrates me that I went to USC and I actually lived in the community. My home is in that community. That the median income for families is $28,000 in that area, and then you have 18 and 19-year-olds driving $90,000 and $100,000 cars in their, freshmen and sophomores. I'm sorry.
At USC.
At USC.
So you're saying the median income in the surrounding area of Los Angeles, which is like really South Central, is $28,000. However, when you go onto campus, you're really among the wealthiest people.
You're among the 1%. And then what frustrated me further is you're going for me. And plus I was older. Like I said, it took 7 years for me to get my stuff together and go back to grad school. So I was in my late 20s. I graduated at 31. So I had a vast life experience before, going into grad school. And so for me, I was kind of asking my professors, like, why are we going out into further reaches of the community when there are people right here our next door neighbors to our campus that need our help. Why are we, I don't know people, I'm sure there's people that are familiar with the area, but we shut down a whole section. We closed and rebuilt over a whole section. There was a grocery store, a whole bunch of things in the area that really were necessary to the people that lived around there, but we made dorms and put a Trader Joe's there.
And Target.
Oh, there's a Target there?
There's a Target.
I didn't know that. But USC bought that property and put dorms in.
Is that gentrification? Is it considered?
100% it's gentrification.
Mm-hmm.
But so for me,
yeah,
as a Black woman who actually lives in that community, a few miles out, but still it was frustrating to see that I am paying these hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this education from you guys, and we're doing nothing to pour back into the community that we are clearly stripping bare. So for me, I kind of begrudged how much I was spending because I knew that none of it was actually going back into the surrounding communities. That was my feeling. But I do know that a lot of it, I paid for the name.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a private institution, and it's a master's degree. And I'm sure if I would have, got my stuff together and taken the GRE and buckled down and studied hard, I probably could have, gone to CSUN again. But that's impacted. So it's a whole bunch of if, ands, and buts. And, if I would have waited a year, or if I would have, better prepared. So it's all of those things, but it's like, who wants to wait another year to live their dreams?
Right. Yeah. So, that moves me into the next question is, what would be your advice to people coming in? And so I'll start first because I've thought a lot about this question. And even when you were contemplating your MSW degree, I feel like I was telling you, like, listen, the student loans are terrible. So if you can go to another place, you should go, because I experienced all the trauma that comes with owing more money than you've ever seen in your life. You don't know if you're ever even going to make that much money as a social worker. And so, wrestling with those like feelings of doubt and uncertainty and all those things, I wanted to say, hey, be careful. It was great. I did have a great time at USC. I did pay for the name as well, but I made sure that I took advantage of every opportunity on campus. But then, when we graduate, I'm working with people who went to CSUN or Cal State LA or UCLA, and they don't have debt like I have it. Mm-hmm. And we're making the same salary that we're making the same money, and we paid a different cost for the degrees. Although they do say that people who graduated from USC end up striving for more. And I actually am, I'm not saying that that's true for everyone, but in my circle of friends, I found it to be true that, not my friends outside of USC, but basically in my job, right? We have, of our little group, I'm among the top in terms of how I'm going after salary, going after promotions, going after raises, and striving. And I don't know if it's because I went to USC or because of something else, but I would say it's, so anybody thinking about taking on a lot of student loan debt, I would hope that through our own experiences, we're able to educate our children or our nieces and nephews or our little cousins. Because like you said, when we're in the moment, we're just basically like, we need to decide and make a decision right now. Like, we can't wait another year. We can't do any of that. And so you feel pressured, but we can do something about the generations that are upcoming. Mm-hmm. I would say don't do it, but then you have to do what you have to do. But make sure if you do it, you take in all those lessons and pass it forward. Like you were saying, feed back into the community, will feed back into your own family and your own, future generations, so that they don't have to have this like debt and like bondage to debt. So what would you say is your advice?
I don't know. I feel like everybody has to have their own path.
Yeah.
Because my mom is older and she's old school, and she has a saying, bought sense is better than taught sense. And bought sense is better than taught sense.
Okay.
If you go out there and find out on your own, that lesson is more precious than if I tell you.
Mhm.
But I am the type of person, I will go out and I will research, I will talk to people, I will listen to what their bot sense told them so
Right.
that I don't have to go out there and experience that same thing.
Exactly.
So I'm the type of person that I will go out and take heed and I'll listen to stories and see what they say. And if they can manage it and if they say, you know, it was worth it, or, you know, if 9 dentists out of the 10 say this is the way to go, I'm probably gonna go that way.
Yeah.
But because you know that 10 dentist might have had a bad day or whatever. But all it just kind of for me, it was like, okay, all of my friends have master's degrees. All of my friends are living better lives. All of my friends are striving for better. Michelle, you already know. Wiz Khalifa told me all my pasta got shrimp in it. And I was like, that's the life I need to be living. I got to get it together.
Mm-hmm.
So now I was like, I got to do some things to get myself in order so that all my pasta can have shrimp in it. And
Yeah,
that's what I had to do.
yeah, what you say is true. It's like when I was looking at myself, I felt like I needed to do more and be more and like get rid of the dead and do all this stuff. But then my life was still in order, you know, like I was still able to be successful in other areas of my life, in my family and my social life, and even in my financial life. Even though I had a lot of loans, I still was able to, like you said, you know, you got a home, like we purchased a home, started a family and those things. And so after you know, if you're able to just move on and just keep moving and have a long-term goal, which is our 10-year goal to get it forgiven. And a lot of people, you know, a lot of weird conservative people or whoever they are, I don't know who they are, but the people who say, you know, you're just freeloading off of the economy or the government or whatever their thought process is, it's just kind of like confusing to me because, like you said, they've never walked in our shoes. They don't really understand. And then they say, oh, you have a worthless degree. Like, oh, you're going to go and just be a social worker? What a waste of money. But it's like, you don't understand. Like, you don't serve the communities we serve. You don't see the kind of people who need our help, you know? And our career is just as valid as any other career.
Well, for me, I want to backtrack really quick. I think, honestly, to be totally honest, like I said, I had a huge fear of debt unless it was like really necessary or profound.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly couldn't have fathomed going into student loan debt until I bought my home. Because having that much, once I got used to seeing that mortgage amount every month, I was like, oh, just add another comma. It's like, whatever. Like, you know, it's like once you've kind of already signed on to so much, it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. So honestly, that big life step kind of helped usher me into being more flexible and be like, okay, this is just a momentary monetary commitment. It's broken down into monthly payment. Like once I got my mind wrapped around, essentially you're going to be owing somebody something every month forever.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is for the betterment of, you know, you. It was fine. I kind of moved on to that. But I wonder if those same people feel the same way about police officers getting offered essentially low income housing in areas that they police, which they don't take advantage of because they don't want to live in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's the same thing.
Get, you know, some kind of a house credit or loan,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, for their service or whatever.
Yes.
It's very similar.
And the same thing with like the GI Bill. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
if you serve your country, you can get free schooling. I'm not saying that we're, you know, fighting for our country, but it's the same thing. Is we are giving back to the community. Why is it that we can't get something reciprocated? Right. We are not getting the monetary of it, but the federal government is getting reimbursed. Like I don't see what the problem is.
Right.
But we also know that in the society we don't value things that are not masculine. if that makes any sense. We are just seeing that teachers are just starting to get value because parents are actually having to take care of and teach their own children at home. Right. So I just feel like if they're not directly affected by something, they don't attach a value.
Yeah, they couldn't possibly understand because they just don't walk in our shoes.
Yeah, they don't attach value to it. So it's one of those things. So you can't get frustrated about it. You can't get upset about it. You can't argue back and forth with someone who doesn't understand or has no concept about it. Right. It's just that God bless you and have a great day.
Yeah, so I think that wraps up this segment of what I hope to be a continuing dialogue about the issues we experience as Black women, as social workers, as Americans, as whatever category you want to call it. But are there any parting words?
Yes, I want to talk more on this next segment because you did touch on something that was very important to me. You said, for the next generation, well, that's what we have more education and we want to give our kids more options, but that's why we are investing in stocks and getting into options and all those things. So when my sweet goddaughter tells me I want to go to Yale, and I'm like, okay, well, let me get these $50,000 for you so you can go.
For every semester, or probably more.
Quarter, probably. It'll be $50,000 a unit.
We're going to have her go to Spelman or to Howard or something. I don't know. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Well, listen, it depends on what she wants.
It does.
Whatever she wants, she gets.
Oh, she's going to get it. She's going to be good. She's going to be better off than we are, for sure.
Absolutely. That's the goal, right? Every generation should be better off.
Totally. All right, Brewer. Thank you.
Love you so much, Hartzog. Hartzog. Oh, my goodness.
Saying my name to YouTube. I'm going to have to try to delete that.
Oh, you said mine.
Oh, I did.